Got housekeeping first, Neil. Who's in and out for this weekend? Have you got available?
Ken Berry's back in training, McGregor's back in training, Bartley's back in training, Milligan's training. So we're a little bit stronger than we were, 2-3 weeks ago. In terms of injuries, Paul Hanlon is struggling with a hamstring strain. So sort of like one out and 3 or 4 back in. How fully fit the guys are in terms of McGregor and Bartley, we'll assess that tomorrow. And Milligan, but they'll be in the squad.
How's Milligan looking?
Great. He's been away in the training camp with Australia. Had a couple of weeks there, but obviously he's not played any competitive football since the World Cup. So that'll be something that obviously we'll have to factor into their thinking going forward.
Looking to bounce back, obviously, since the game before.
Yeah, it's not too often I'm disappointed with the players, but it was a disappointing sort of second half. It's a difficult place to go, Livingston, but I thought for an hour we were okay, and then we gave away 2 really poor goals from our point of view, and it cost us the game. So yeah, we're looking for a reaction, and to be fair, in my time here we've always had good reactions from adverse performances. It's been a sort of start of the season, if you want to call it that, so it's good now to have a run of games where we'll build up a bit of momentum as well.
A lot of the focus this week has been on the SFA disciplinary procedure, what people understand.
You're asking the wrong man, Ron, aren't you?
I mean, are you satisfied with the procedures and how they're carried out?
Well, I wasn't satisfied with my procedure when I got the 3-game ban. When was it? In July, before the season started. But you accept it, there's no point in appealing it and get on with it. I understand Steve's frustration. I understand Aberdeen's frustration looking at the 2 incidents. I didn't think Gary Dicker's was a red card, and I'm not sure Devlin's was either. So there's a consistency there that did Gary use excessive force in the tackle? I'm not so sure. And to be fair, the other ones, Alan McGregor and Morelos, we went to referees' meeting, and unless there's excessive force used, which probably weren't in both cases, then I can understand them being rescinded. But I can also understand Steve's frustration at Gary's not being rescinded.
You went to the meeting with the referees?
Yes.
I mean, did they explain to you then clearly what is a red card and what is a yellow card, and are you satisfied with that explanation?
Well, you were satisfied at the time, and then when you see what's happened since then there's confusion among the managers. And I sympathise with both Derek and Steve in these instances.
Between the Kilmarnock situation, the Aberdeen situation, which I know had nothing to do with you, but your own situation which you referenced there, Neil, the SFA have taken a lot of criticism. Do you think there's maybe a bit of a credibility problem with the refereing side of things, and also not specifically the refereeing side but the appeals process as well?
Well, there's a bit of confusion there. There's I don't know about credibility. I wouldn't question the credibility of people at all. I think each...
Not so much of individuals, but football fans think it's a bit mystifying. Craig Gordon was saying it's a bit confusing. I'm not questioning the credibility of individual people, but
I think we've had this for. I think we've had this for a while. I think there has, for each case, you have to look at it on its own merits, Paul, and not compare them to other ones. I think that's the main thing. So, in terms of the consistency, people look at it and they don't seem to get the same answers either way in different cases, So I think there's a bit of confusion there, and that's understandable. But I wouldn't call into the question, the credibility of the people on the tribunals or anything like that. They call it as they see it at that time.
It really seems strange.
Sorry, to make myself... You understand that, yeah?
Yeah, but spell your name wrong on the charge sheet now.
Pardon?
Yeah,
probably.
I mean, you talked about the Alan McGregor thing. You said the decision was right.
Well,
right compared to, related to what you were told was...
Yeah, it was petulance from McGregor, and maybe a little bit petulance from Morelos as well in those instances. So we were told that, if it's more petulant and not excessive force, then you can't deem that a red card offence. That's what I took from that meeting.
You can understand why a lot of people think that is a red card, I think.
Yes, absolutely. And I think that has to be made clear to the public.
Do you think these sort of situations are almost inevitable when you look at the level of scrutiny that we have in today's game compared to 20 years ago when you didn't have 15 cameras at the game?
Yes.
A decision would be made and you just got on with it, but everyone wants to study something to the nth degree. Do you think it's almost an inevitability that people will have more things to be annoyed about, really?
Yes. I think the World Cup was a good example. You know, you had VAR and there's more penalties in the World Cup, so it prevented the holding, started preventing the diving, started preventing the cheating. So I think that was a good example of how the technology can work, and then players stopped doing it, so the game's cleaner. In terms of off-the-ball incidences, you can't get away with stuff like that. If it is excessive, you know, then the people who look at it will deem that to be the case. But we can't look at every situation and go, that's a red card, that's a red card. 'Cause sometimes they're not. It's as simple as that. Sometimes they're not. We, in the heat of the moment, will look at something and think, oh, that's a red card. And then maybe when you look back at it afterwards, you think, oh, a yellow suffice. In terms of, for me, Gary's tackle, you know, I thought it was, you know, wasn't excessive force for me. You know, I thought it was a decent tackle. And the Devlin one, you know, probably a yellow card, because sometimes we've had players in the box brought down and you don't get the double jeopardy rule anymore. What you get is a yellow card and then a penalty. So there is a bit of confusion, there's no question of that. We could talk all day about it, Paul. We could talk about handball as well. That's another one, you know, that is a real grey area for me. So I can understand the confusion at the minute from some of the managers.
I heard you on Five Ladder and I was quite interested with your comments about the mobile phones and whatnot. I thought that was quite interesting. Are there any other things that you've introduced here behind the scenes that maybe not everyone's aware of that you feel is generating a better team cohesion and better team dynamic?
No, we just try and make the training ground a place where the players enjoy coming to. And that doesn't mean to say they wouldn't enjoy it if they had their mobile phones with them. What I want them to do is sit in the dressing room and talk to each other or have a laugh, or not just sit there on the phone and send out tweets or send out pictures of the dressing room or semi-naked men in towels. Because at the end of the day, I think the dressing room is a sanctuary for them, and there has to be a level of privacy there as well. And I don't like things coming out of the dressing room. You know, sometimes I look at some of the tweets regarding the club or the team and I don't like that. Now, we don't stop them from using Twitter or Facebook because we're not a dictatorship. But in this environment, it's a place where, you know, if you have any problems or worries, just leave them in the car and come in here and enjoy your work. But in terms of other things, not really. For me, it's simplicity. And I get the social media generation. It's instant gratification, and that's not the way the world is, and it's certainly not the way the football world is. But sometimes you can get into that mode of thinking where everybody wants success immediately, everybody wants the perfect player, everybody wants the perfect team and the perfect manager, and that's not the real world. So we try and keep it simple.
How difficult do you expect tomorrow to be next Kilmarnock?
Very impressed with them against Aberdeen. I've been very impressed with Kilmarnock, you know, since Steve's taken over. You know, they're a really well polished outfit, strong, got goals in them, well organised at the back. So looking for a reaction obviously from my own team, but we know it's going to be a difficult game, but it's one to get our teeth into.
Do you feel like you've got more options now, Neil, in terms of your selection?
Yeah.
What have you?
Yeah.
With the break and more players back.
Yeah. Although sometimes the break can't be ideal, you know, especially after the defeat. It's a long 2 weeks, and you got players away on international duty, and it can break up your rhythm of training. And we only get them all really back yesterday. But it's good to have, you know, bodies in and fit and available, and it just gives us a bit more strength and depth.